Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of OverBOTCH, the Overwatch League podcast hosted by three rapscallions who try to talk philosophic about Overwatch, usually end up talking philosophoric. We are down a member today. If you're watching the video version, you can already see enter name here Bear, aka Richard, Great Root Bear, is not with us. He is no longer with us. He is gone on to the great skyscraper in the sky. Oh wait, that's mean in a literal sense. We did not lose Richard. We only lost him for today. He's busy working.
I was wondering where you're going with that.
NYC. And so yeah, it'll just be in Plex. So the nice thing is you will the one advantage is you will get us breaking down some of these teams, some of these metas, some of these team performances. And we'll only be talking about the team performances and not whether that team's local city has any decent cuisine or some kind of rap music history. I love rap, but I don't know what that has to do with sometimes a hit scam player's final blow count. So
I can talk about jazz.
We're gonna keep it nerdy today. You talking about jazz?
Yeah, with jazz and blues.
Yeah,
that's all right. I ain't that guy. That's Richard's job.
Yes, which actually, you know what? In the right, I do love his when he brings it into like the locality, because like if we're gonna run the league like it should be with these like city-based teams, I do like including the culture. Unfortunately, a lot of the teams, as we often talk about, don't do it. But who knows? Maybe that's something that can slowly kind of creep into the environment. But the bigger thing is, oh my goodness gracious. We have started a new tournament. We have kicked into a new patch in the Overwatch beta that the Overwatch League is playing on that we will get access to in about 6 days. This is Wednesday, if you're listening to this on Wednesday. 6 days away from the next launch of the beta, which will be a totally new hero, totally different patch. But the current patch of the beta is a new one, which we kind of briefly went over last year. There were some nerfs to some of the primary heroes we've been seeing, like Soldier, and stuff like that. So, but not only that, like that was the big one I was expecting to, and I'll jump right in here with the first category is meta, mid-season meta madness, really. Soldier was the big one where I'm like, okay, we're gonna stop seeing Soldier and Nano Visor and stuff like that. But man, did the meta really shift all around?
It's like there was a nuclear event and just everything just went.
That's what the thumbnail for this is going to be. It's going to be like, it's going to be an explosion because it just went to like.
I will say this: I was surprised how right I was with which heroes we were going to see because it's all based around Zenyatta.
So
expecting the combinations.
Yes, exactly. We had talked about that was the other big one with the Zen with the buff to his armor as well as his new passive with the knockback kick, the super kick party from the monk, and that was the other one. So we're like, all right, are we going to see a kind of like a Zen meta, flex support meta kind of thing? But so Soldier gone, Zen in. I was like, all right, we'll see that. But I'm like, it's going to be pretty much the same, right? We're going to be seeing a lot of Zarya. We're going to be seeing a lot of Doomfist in the tank line. We're going to be seeing. I thought it was still going to be outside of Zen, a lot of Ana Lucio, but like, man, there was very little Lucio.
Yeah.
Overall for the weekend, tons of Zen. But then the tanks really started shifting around. And then we'll really break it down. And Soldier seems to have kind of been replaced with a heavy presence from our newest DPS. That's right, Sojourn.
Yeah, so because last week I actually wrote up my notes as to who I thought was going to be coming in, and I got most of them right. So I've got my notepad here.
Please, like take a look. We'll take a look back.
I was saying, because for tank, I did predict Wrecking Ball and Sigma. That was two of them.
So the Sigma, I was with you on that, and even I think I remember in my head I was like, yep, because they'd already been using it on certain poke maps like Circuit Royale and stuff. So there was already been a little bit of a precedent. But after the changes, I'm like, I could see that coming in to play a little bit. What surprised me though was the ball, because the only ball change from the patch, if I remember, was that the grapple Wait, no, it was the knockback was
36%.
Yeah, which is basically taking it back to where Wrecking Ball was ahead of the season. Like that's the standard Wrecking Ball knockback. So they had nerfed it ahead of the season, and now they're like, let's bring him back. I think he's a little underutilized. And man, they got a lot of playtime, not just from like, oh, here's one guy, some ball specialist. We saw it several times throughout the weekend.
Yeah. I mean, what was really weird for me was in these ball competitions, they basically played like the Winston dive. So that's different hero, same principle, different heroes. But the outlier for me was in these compositions, they were running Baptiste.
Yep.
That to me felt a little weird because I've always known Wrecking Ball comps to be Brig Zen, for example.
Right.
So
well, Bap got a buff too, right?
Yeah, it's like Bap got buffed. So I get why he was being played, but it felt a bit wrong to me. Because essentially, with a dive, you want heroes, at least in my experience, you want heroes that can heal from a distance. So that's why Ana's good, Zen, Brig, and even Mercy.
Yep.
With Baptiste, you have to get sometimes quite close to him. It's like, here you go.
Unless you're like a sniper with the grenades or something like that, or like you have you can lob them, but even that it's very imprecise.
Yeah, so because when you look at the rest of the composition, it was mainly Wrecking Ball, Tracer / Echo, and then Soldier. These are all heroes that I refer to as roaming heroes. It's like they don't always have to go back to their supports.
Yeah.
Whereas obviously with the Winston, they basically rely on the Ana.
Yes, absolutely.
So you got these 3 roaming heroes, and I think to myself, okay, how's Baptiste fit into the mix?
Yeah, like how are we going to keep this comp together and healed up and viable? Yeah,
like saying, hey, it's one of those things where I can understand why I want to play Baptiste. It just feels like sort of, it's kind of like water and oil in the sense that the rest of the comp is the water, and you got the oil on top, which is the Baptiste.
Yeah,
it just doesn't quite mix.
But teams were making a go of it, and then we did see some.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, exactly. It was just kind of surprising. Yeah, absolutely.
And of course, what was interesting to me was we're seeing a lot of teams build around the Zenyatta in very different ways.
Yes.
Like we saw the ball cops, we saw the Sigma poke, we even saw double sniper at times. Which I will admit, I enjoy double sniper because it's like, okay, you got to watch your head.
Especially if that is an intimidating comp. If the aggressor on the other side, that they have 2 capable, it makes pushing in very, very difficult. But that said, then on the other side of that coin is if you do have that kind of really capable dive on your side, those are some quick targets to take out. But there was a lot of fun seeing some of the switch ups.
We also got to see teams that we would expect actually do well. I mean, London Spitfire, for example.
Bro.
They showed a lot more than the Rush comp. And my God, I honestly think they're going to be a threat this stage.
Yeah. They came out of the gate. Our match of the week last week was it was a good game. Florida Mayhem, London Spitfire, the kickoff game of this patch of this stage. That's the freaking word I was looking for.
Stage or tournament.
Stage or tournament. Yeah.
Potato potato moment.
And we all pretted pretty firmly. We're like
Mayhem.
Yeah, London. London had a couple good performances last stage, but I'm like, they're still London, right?
That's so we're like, what Florida, you're gonna get.
Yeah, and like Florida, but Florida has been consistently good. Like I said, punching in that middle, has that ability, I think, to hit into that top 4-3. But like they've been pretty solid, and so we're like, maybe it'll be close, but it's clearly going to be a Florida game. And man, it was a close game, but London was able to show that flexibility and squeak it out.
Yeah. I mean, I will say this. My biggest thing about that match, it was fantastic, by the way. I highly suggest people go back and watch it.
Yeah, good match.
My question is, at the end, what if Hardy had missed that shatter?
Oh.
Because he got, I think it was Hydron, Majed, and Rapol.
We don't have great fidelity on this podcast, but talk a little bit about. I want to see. I'm going to see if I can find the clip of that because that was gnarly.
Yeah. So essentially, right at the end, it's 0.3 on Oasis, just to set this all up. Mayhem are pushing in for the last team fight. You've got someone on Wrecking Ball, Checkmate on Tracer. They're basically doing their standard 2-3 split like they always do. And Hardy is hiding in that side corridor, sort of bumper style.
Oh yeah.
Matt, roll the clip.
Oh, it's man,
Hardy,
right time.
Let's come out of his hiding spots.
Yeah, right. But he's been waiting. Mayhem push in, and
yeah. Now my question is,
yeah, and then this, and then following it up with the pin was just like style points.
Yeah. So my question is, what if A, Hardy had missed the shatter, and B, what if he couldn't get back to his team in time?
I mean,
so if you roll it back, Matt,
because who does he gets a 3? It's a 3-man shatter, right?
Yes, 3-man.
Majed, Hydron, and
Repul. So he gets both supports and the soldier in this one shatter.
Yes.
And I'm thinking to myself, let's say Repul was still up.
Let's say Repul's still, or even Hydron, if they had just slid away, right? Hit the power slide and get away. So maybe he gets Majed.
Yeah, so let's assume he just gets Majed. Repul could have thrown down the lamp.
Immortality. Or throw down an immortality field. True.
Throw down the immortality field. Hardy would have then had to work hard to take out all three, who'd basically been turned on him.
Right, because then at that time too, if he missed that or it got countered like that, then he's probably going to be forced to stay here and fight.
He's a stick duck, yeah.
Even if he was able to live, he'd have to stay and fight, and he wouldn't be able to slide in. And who did he take out on the way? Oh, was it just mines?
Yeah, so he
okay.
But you can see,
I thought he.
You can see in the kill feed at this point, someone had taken down Landon on the Baptiste. So it would have only been the Lucio heals to keep him up. I mean, potentially you would have had Backbone on the Maid to keep sustained, and then you had the bionic field from Soldier. But would that have been enough heat to keep Hardy up? Assuming the shadow had missed.
Yeah.
So Checkmate could have got behind the shield, Soldier with Hydron on his maneuverability. So it's very much a case of it's one of those things where we just don't know.
No, I mean, but that's the beauty. That's what a clutch play is. It's those changing moments. Because as you look here, scorelines 2-2. They're on a control map 5, and it's one each. So it's not like there would have even been another round. Like it could have. I mean, London was doing really well in this round, but if Florida would have flipped that, hey, that's all it takes is a flip, and then recalibrate yourselves, kind of reset, and you can run that all the way back.
Because overall, Mayhem's composition is really good, in my opinion, at countering the rush. Because with rush comps, you have to be very compact. Whereas with Mayhem, they can literally just spread out. Like I said, they've got roaming heroes in the Soldier, the Echo/Tracer, the Wrecking Ball. And the way Mayhem play with a 2-3 split, their support lines are protected. So that play reminds me of, I don't know if you remember, Matt, Jungu, right at the start of last season, against the San Francisco Shock.
Oh, the shatter. Oh, yeah, on Havana.
It was basically that kind of play where if he hit it, he won. He didn't hit it.
Yeah, it's a game. It was a game changer. In this game, it was the game. It was the closer. It was the game closer. That's what finished it off. And if you wouldn't, who knows what it would have gone. For sure, I think Florida would have had a good chance of it, at the very least, flipping the point and started, pushing that percentage.
And one other thing on London, the fact. So, I'm not gonna lie. I was one of the people that was pleasantly surprised by that result. I thought to myself, okay, can London do it again? And they did against a certain team.
Oh, Richard had a bad weekend.
Yeah,
Richard had a bad weekend.
L's across the board.
Yeah, so we all picked that match as the match of the week, which we all got wrong. Yeah. Then Richard's, his kind of second home, New York City, because he spent so much time there. That's kind of like his secondary team. They what's it called? Well, never mind. They lost to Washington, which is just a pain, and they lost to Paris. We'll get into that. We'll get into that in a minute.
But then they lost to Paris, so.
But then his home team, Toronto, gets London's second victory of the weekend, and then also we'll bring Florida back into the picture. Toronto loses 3-1 to Florida. So Richard had a bad week.
Yeah, and Toronto the entire time were running the old Winston composition.
That's all they could play.
Against Mayhem, they did flex, so I should point that out. But the majority of the time was the old Winston dive.
Yes.
And I just thought to myself, you clearly haven't been working, have you?
I don't. I mean,
they've lost their coaches, so
yeah, there's a little bit of a turmoil in the Toronto kind of camp. Let's say
the best way I could describe it. I don't know if anybody. Now, bear with me on this. There's the meme from Jimmy Neutron where the kid's doing show and tell, and he brings in his Ultra Lord figure, and the teacher goes, "You've already shown this Ultra Lord figure so many times." I had that meme going in my head with Toronto. Like, this is our new composition.
You've done this a lot, and it's gotten you it's gotten you okay, but like different. It's a different world now, baby. It's amazing.
Yeah,
how much these patch notes, these patch changes that on paper we talked about this last week. You read them, and it's like, oh, like this damage was dropped by like 0.5, and like this cooldown was increased by 1 second.
Yeah.
It's like that's not. Man, it changes how you play the game, and it changes how you play heroes, and it changes how you pick compositions.
Yeah, it's almost like everyone moved forward. I mean, even Mayhem with their defeat, they actually learned from that and all the rest of it. Toronto just still kind of stood still.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I said, they did change their comps a little bit against Mayhem, but overall, you could tell they're still stuck in place a lot of the time.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, we're looking back right now at the and I can zoom in a little bit just to make it a little bit easier. But like this is some of last week's results. So yeah, I mean, London, things like that, really stepping out, really embracing not only it's like they embraced some of the we actually saw a tank change from them. We actually saw their second tank come in.
Yeah, Poco.
Yep, it has been all hottie all the time, 100% hottie show. Chatty, which I pointed out on Twitter, if there's anybody, I mean, I don't know why you would be listening, but if you were seeing Impaired, or maybe you have it on in the background and you just started like watching Overwatch League, you would be convinced that Hottie's name is Chatty.
Yeah.
Or Chatty. Because every person on Twitter, every caster, literally, like Custa was literally, it wasn't even like making a point of it, like, oh man, he's so good, we may as well call him Chatty again. They literally were just like saying it off the cuff as if it's his name.
It just sort of became what you're used to.
It's just his name, yeah.
But I mean, full credit to the London coaching staff. They're playing their way, and that's something I love about watching Spitfire right now. They've literally, the coaching staff have looked at the team, looked at their strengths and weaknesses, and built around that.
Yep.
And I think that is fantastic.
Yeah,
and full credit to the coaching staff.
100%. And I mean, Hottie is one of the star players, obviously big momentum mover on that Reinhardt, on the main tanks especially. But it's now allowing, I think, windows too for I think like their DPS line is pretty good.
Yeah,
that's another one. Like I feel like we say this about so many teams, but they're like, oh, these players are good, but they're not winning. So it's like,
yeah,
at what stage it is, but like Shax and Sparker, like they're pretty backbone on the May especially has been having some pop-off performances.
And what was amusing was against Mayhem on Colosseo, which is map 4, he switched to the Sombra, and he actually had a pretty decent game on that side.
And Sombra has been historically this season not very, very niche, I think as we put it.
Needed for specific situations.
Yeah, primarily like a Doomfist counter or something like that.
Or ball count. But what was interesting is in the past, Backbone switches to Sombra to try and get the team over the lines. Let's say it's about to hit OT. Yep. Go to the Sombra and get the work done.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to see him actually play it for a full map was actually quite interesting.
And to see the other part of it is I love they still have their rush comp, their Rhine Brawl rush comp kind of thing. But they're not just like, it doesn't seem like a team like frozen in the headlights. It's just like, this is all we got. Let's just do it. Like they might know. It feels like they know it's slightly off meta. Like we know this isn't an ideal pick, but they found ways to play. Like they don't just like stand there, hold shield, and just run and swing it. Like they learned how to play it against some of these Winston comps, and now these ball comps, these Doom comps. So like they haven't just sat on their heels and be like, "This is what we got." They're playing it in a specific way, which is kind of giving them the advantage.
The best way I can sort of give an example is Chengdu Hunters when they first joined the league. They would, at the time, the meta was hard goats. The goats composition triple support. Chengdu were like, that's cute. we'll run a wrecking ball composition instead with triple DPS.
Yep.
And it was completely left field, but they played it in such a way that no team could really prepare for them.
Yep.
And I think we're seeing that with London as well, that you can't prepare for them because nobody else is playing what they're playing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, London have their first 2-0 of weekend of the season, and they like I said, they start punching way up. They start like there's a bright light of potential for them to punch. I'm loving that these. I think we still have our top 3 in NA at least are pretty. It's pretty solid. Although with Glads at the top. With San Francisco still at the top of the standings.
They're up there, yeah.
They technically are number 1 in the regular season standings, despite the tournament win by the Glads. But then Glads and Dallas Fuel. But then that 4, 5, 6, like 7, like that those middle, like the middle is growing wide. Like there's no tier break. There's Florida, there's Houston. There's Toronto. There's Atlanta. Atlanta's probably has been doing solid, and they're still up there. There's Atlanta though. Washington is hitting that hit or miss, but like
it's the lower end of the scale.
But London is punching into that zone. Boston is sinking, and Vancouver is still doing Vancouver things, as well as New York. I mean,
Vancouver actually looked a lot better this season.
They did. They had
Mirror on tank. For most of it,
they
had better, but it's clear they need a bit more time. But they've got a rough schedule ahead. For what I've been reading.
Yeah, and we talk about strength of schedule can be rough, but Paris Eternal got their first win.
Yeah, with Dove in the mix,
with the new player really Dove, which we're going to talk about several of the roster changes we've seen. The roster moves and, quite frankly, cuts are kind of wild in this season, and we'll get into a little bit of that more later. But Dove coming in for the Paris Eternal, and they took a map off the Glads, which is from a team that has 0 wins to take a map off of the Kickoff Clash champions. It's small, it's a little chip, but it's a pat on the back. It's a little tip of the hat there. That's something.
And then they took it all the way against New York as well.
Yep, and New York continues to struggle a little bit here.
Sorry, Richard.
Yeah, it's New York and Vancouver, and then Boston. I'm starting to see a little bit of an upswing between the addition of Wub and now Dove for Paris, potentially.
And I think this comes down to their scouting. I mean, even last season, where they had players leave, like I think it was Neptuno left, and Vistola, not Vistola, it was Elivote that left. The players that came in actually looked really good as well. At that point, it was Vistola that came in for Elivote.
Yeah,
and you had Dredro coming for Neptuno, and Paris, they didn't skip a beat.
They did. They really did. And they've got a lot of flux too. Everybody, talking about they're getting ready for it feels sometimes like they're just looking ahead to next year, where they're going to be officially moving to the US, shifting their branding over to the Vegas Tour. I believe they already play out of the US.
Them and London both based in the US at the minute.
Yeah, I think it's like. That's the funny thing about which is again, it comes back to this franchise model and this city model. But I'm like, I think we may have 2 Texas teams, but I think 4 or 5 teams play out of Texas.
Yeah.
Or are based in the Dallas Austin area.
That sort of region. Yeah.
Yeah. That whole, there's a lot of who have their offices and stuff there. And so their players play out of there. So I'm like, at some point, we might have to rethink this model because very few people are playing in their home city.
I get the feeling that COVID was a big factor in all that. So
for sure, but I mean, also you're playing EU. Unfortunately, is just getting the rub here, or the opposite, the rib, the shaft. Is server issue. It's so hard for them to play competitively with anybody from either Asia or the US. The ping difference is so crazy, and let's just jump onto some Midwest US servers. We could play against New York, we could play against California, and Canada, all on decent connection and everything like that. And then you go to Hawaii if you make any tournaments to play against Asia and stuff like that. So I get it, and it's just it's unfortunate. Give us 10G. give us 10G, Verizon, and so we can play on like 25 ping, whether we're against somebody in Russia. No, okay, maybe not Russia, but
I know what you mean.
Yeah, Ukraine or Finland or England or wherever. We'll get there one day, someday. But before we move on to some of those roster moves, Dallas had another one of our top teams.
They had a
rough wing. They started with a shocker.
Yeah,
San
no
Francisco,
pun intended there.
Yeah, after having kind of a middling kickoff clash tournament performance, it was okay, but they went out a lot earlier than people expected.
Like I say, they ran their false 9 composition, as I call it, or widely known as Dirty Bubble, but I think of it as the false 9 with Reaper Zarya. But
yeah,
it's clear that Dallas, they haven't found their comfort comp, which they did before.
Yeah,
like they found what worked for them, and I have full faith that Coach Rush will find something for them. It's just a case they need to obviously play in the meta to get a better idea of what they can play, what they can't play.
Absolutely. I mean, that given the staff and given the talent of the Fuel, like, you have to imagine this is hopefully just a stutter step. And they played 2 tough teams. They played the number 1 in the standings, San Francisco Shock, and they played Atlanta Reign, who had this ability to, whenever they have a rough, it always seems like whenever they have a rough spot, they come back and punch back hard.
Yeah.
They did that a little bit in the tournament when they kind of didn't have a great performance in the season. They came back and had a pretty damn good tournament. They finished, I think Atlanta finished 3rd in the tournament, right?
They were third place because Dallas made the final.
Yeah, it was Dallas and Glads, and then it was the Atlanta.
Yeah, Atlanta were in the losers final as well.
Yes.
Now.
So
the only scary thing I've got looking ahead, guess who Dallas have next?
Well, we're gonna get into that. We will get in this coming week's schedule at the end of it. But for now, let me pull this out. That's what they said. We are going to just get a little bit
twisted little mind.
what? The never-ending roster mania that seems to be happening all over. And we talked about this a little bit in private, and it's the one thing that is we talked about last week about how Shock bringing on Mikey, for example, right?
Yeah.
And you had brought up the point of, it kind of would be nice. It's a shame that we can't, we just fill the roster hole with somebody new as opposed to kind of coaching up. And I think I think that point was well taken. My point was, hey, this is this is the pros, baby. Like, it's about wins. But now I think there's something we can both agree on in that kind of vein, is it does sometimes seem, especially less with the additions, like, hey, if you got the money and you want to bring on an extra tank because you want the person, I get it. But with the amounts of cuts that seem to come out of nowhere, where it was like, hey, we brought you on again, especially some of these people, they bring them in from Asia, they'll bring them to the US or something like that. They play for 30 days and then it's like, oh, the 30-day contract, never mind, we don't want you, you're out. And while I'm a big believer in kind of maybe it's cold, whatever, a sports attitude of you're brought on, and if you don't perform, you don't make the cut, having some kind of protection for at least, again, 30 days is such short notice, and especially for an international talent, and the 30-day buyout is basically we pay you for think of it as severance. You get 1 month severance essentially, and you have to totally shift your life around for a lot of these sales. That seems really, really a shame to me, that part of the deals. I mean, I'm not like, hey, you need to give these guys guaranteed 3 years, X amount, money or whatever. You know what I mean? But yeah, 30 days, this kind of you're out 1 month and it's over. Seems a little bit harsh.
Especially when you can tell that player isn't going to play. I mean, Vulcan, for example, on New York, you could tell he was literally just there to make the minimum.
Yeah. And using these players almost, I don't want to say pawns, but as a piece, it was all right, until we can either find the player we want or arrange the player we want. And they're just a placeholder, which I guess it happens, but Yeah. Some of this is very, very just like, you're gone. Goodbye.
Yeah. I mean, just to go a little bit deeper in that, I mean, the Adam release from Mayhem, I don't know if we want to start with that, like Adam and Rapul. We'll go there first, because I think this ties into what we were just saying. So, Adam was released from Florida Mayhem, and Rapul was brought in as a flex support. We saw him make his debut, and Kariv was moved to the coaching staff, and she expressed a desire to do so.
Yes.
Now, obviously, there was a whole backlash about how Adam got released, but in Mayhem Chord, Albert actually said that they did try and find Adam another team. So it wasn't like he was completely just gone, "Your axe, see you later." They did try to find someone to take him on, because someone was just that flexible. It's the same with Miro. It's a case of where would he fit in?
Yeah.
So it was more fair to release him than have him ride the bench.
Right. You're leaving out some details, though.
Okay, carry on.
So this is the thing, and of all the things, especially of a lot of the stuff you're going to see today, this example with the Florida Mayhem, and I know Plex is works for Mayhem, or doesn't work for me. He helps out in their yes, for their Discord. So I've dealt with the Mayhem staff is awesome, and the team.
Yeah.
But I think there was a little bit of a flub here.
Yeah. So Albert did own up to that.
Yes.
Just add to that.
Which is great. And I was going to say that. So they released Adam from his contract. Unfortunately, then it ended up doing it over like a Discord call, which is a damn shame if you ask me. And I know like they needed to get it done. Like there were time limits and stuff like that. But like, to me, that's one of those things. If you're the coach, you get in your damn car, you drive to their apartment and be like,
yeah. But
I don't know. That's me.
To counter that a little bit. So just before, now, this is not me making excuses for Albert or anything like that. Your screen's just frozen. So
no, it's just
I want to point out that Albert, just before the kickoff Clash tournament, had contracted COVID. So I don't know if that was a factor in why they did it the way they did.
Again, that was weeks ago, though. Yeah, like
I think it's more sort of, there may have been mitigating circumstances we don't know about, which meant they couldn't meet in person. We just don't know the exact ins and outs.
Yeah.
We just have to go with what we've seen in public view, so to speak.
Right. Which is the player telling us that they got dropped over a Discord call.
Yeah. But we don't know exactly why it was a Discord call. Was it, as you say, mitigating circumstances?
But either way, I think like that's my thing. I think it's an unfortunate way to do things.
Yeah.
But yes, I will say Albert, the team owner, or the team, is he the owner? No, the president or something like that. Then Gunba should have done it in person. Somebody should have done it in person. And I think when you're cutting, this is one of those. I'm like, I mean, I got a phone call, but I mean, my people in charge of my job were halfway across the country. That's unfortunate.
Yeah,
but it's not the most egregious thing. It's just it's a little unfortunate. In that regard.
But we may never know. And just to clarify, may never know. Albert is the vice president of esports operations with Misfits Gaming.
Gotcha. Okay.
So he is sort of up there.
No, yeah, absolutely. So,
but full credit to Albert for owning up to how he handled it, and he admitted his mistakes. So that I do appreciate. Just to sort of.
And then the graphic. He didn't get a graphic though.
Yeah.
This is
sort of bundled into one thing.
Yeah, they tried, and they even said that too. He said we tried a new thing where they tried to kind of we're announcing all of it in like this graphic paragraph of Kariv is moving to coach. We're bringing on Rapul, and we're releasing Adam. Where it is like nitpicking and everything, but like where the kind of the standard in this league is like, if you're going, we at least get like a thank you post. They get their big picture. Like we're going to see a couple here, and so like, and that one with them, I get it. It was like, hey, let's just try to instead of tweeting 6 times, let's get our business out.
Yeah.
Again, I get the impetus. Maybe next time we flip around
at least Mayhem can learn from that. We'll say that
100%. But moving on, so that was one, and that was one I hadn't even thought of. Otherwise, I would have had it pulled up. But let's move on. We talked about it briefly. I'll just throw it in there right now, though. Dove,
Yep.
And I think who was there I'm trying to think if was there a release lead, because I remember
It was Glister that got released.
Glister, that's right, because
coming in.
Naga had left earlier in the season, bringing in Wub.
Yeah. I mean, the Glister release caught me off guard. I will admit to that.
Yeah.
Because he was one of the bright sparks of the team.
Right.
I mean, it just felt wrong in a way. It's like Glister he wasn't exactly playing badly either.
Yeah, no, Glister was, I thought he was solid.
Yeah. It's just a case of, well, I thought to myself, okay. But then Dove came on the scene and I was like, okay, good.
I kind of get it, but
it's kind of like a couple of seasons ago when Decay was not playing for Dallas and Onigod came in.
Right.
It was because he had that sort of shadow over him. It's like that cloud. Like, oh, you're only in there because they want to get rid of Decay and the rest of it. Yeah. And I think Dove's in a similar situation, but he's proven the Dallas was wrong, and I'll give him full credit for that.
Yeah.
Because he is a beast.
There was some talk about there being some kind of contention, or like maybe some difficulty with him being the only Eastern player on a now primarily Western Western roster, NA based roster kind of thing, which a lot of people have kind of poo-pooed a little bit, because it's like, well, he played on a mixed roster with the Shock.
Yeah, but that was still half and half Korean.
Right. But I mean, enough to the idea of like, so anyone proposing this idea of like, he can't work with English speaking players or whatever is like, that seems kind of debunked. But I think then it was Avala, who doesn't even work. She doesn't work for the Eternal anymore, right?
I think she's the team manager of Paris.
Is she still there? I thought she left last year.
I'll double check. So make your point, I'll double check.
Yeah. So, but either way, she kind of came and was just like, she kind of put a little bit more light on it. And I don't know, again, with the team fully moving over to NA and everything, he wanted to stay where he was, or maybe keep it potentially, next year or whatever it is, look for a team that's back in Korea or in APAC. We'll see. But
Avala is general manager of the organization.
She's still with him. Cool.
Yeah.
But but I will say, all in all, they have a cool Dove hit scan popped off, had a couple of maybe, I don't know, I don't like to hang success on one individual person, but leading to their first win of the season with this new kind of DPS
looked really good as well. The Soldier.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you would have thought, okay, Soldier, sort of a pseudo hit scan, so it would be like we've seen Hydron picking up for Mayhem. He's hit scan.
Mm-hmm.
It's all been hit scan. Wub is a flex player picking up the Soldier, and I thought to myself, oh my god, he's actually popping off.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh, speaking really quick too, before we didn't talk about it during the kind of recap. Talking about Sojourn players again, that was another one. Sojourn had a huge impact this weekend. Kai.
Yeah. Yeah, he
like all of a
popped
sudden,
off, didn't he?
Oh my god! Again, the small change of Sojourn about her. I think it was her
the beam size,
the beam size, and the amount of ammo.
I think it was just beam size. Last I checked.
Yeah,
but that was the key change that brought, because now she can headshot a tracer.
Yeah, and it was just it. You saw her so much, so you got to see a lot of people checking it out, and man. Kai, like we've always known Kai can be a very scary hit scan player, his widow and all that stuff. But it was like when a charged up Sojourn, like again, now we really got to see.
Yeah, so push the limits.
Yeah. And so if you want to think about it, a charged up Sojourn is like a hyper mobile like widow.
Yes.
Because if you slide and jump and you're like, boom, and you can hit a tracer, you can headshot a squishy, gone.
And when you look at the slide cooldown time compared to the grappling hook of Widowmaker,
that
slide is up quite often.
Yep. You are bit bopping and moving all over that map if you want to. So you can hang out in the back line and poke and then charge that thing up and zing someone, or you can be sliding around flanking. It is like a hypermobile Widow in a lot of ways.
I think it was Mr. Rex during the commentary at one point of the Mayhem match. He was saying how Sojourn could be good at medium to close range a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And then obviously, as you say, the long range pokes build up the charge.
Yep.
Because it doesn't matter what Sojourn hits, as long as it hits an enemy hero, it gets charged.
Yeah. So like they really got to show off her versatility this weekend. Because again, she wasn't really in a good spot in the meta in the first part of the league this season. So it's like you didn't really, and now it's like when we all first saw Sojourn, I think in the beta teases and everything, like saw it played in the beta and everything, she was fun. I love the movement. I love the abilities. It took a lot of precision. Again, like she has one of those ultimates. It's not just press Q and you win, right? It's not one of those kind of ultimates.
Yeah.
You still have to aim your shots and everything like that. So the idea was very cool, and she seemed almost OP, but then didn't get a lot of play time. So now to see her getting played to the highest potential, it's like, ooh, baby.
Yeah.
I really like that.
So back to Rostermania.
Yeah, back to some more Rostermania. Something that I don't know if we touched on it last week, but the good old LA Valiant continue to add to their roster as if they didn't have enough. But they did some releases and stuff too.
Yeah. What was it? They signed Molly and Marvel, and they just the other day released Coldest, I believe.
Yes. So Molly, who was formerly on the
Chengdu Hunters.
As well, Shanghai Dragons.
Chengdu. He went from Chengdu to Shanghai, Shanghai to Guangzhou, and now on Valiant.
Yeah, so he's bit bopped and moved a little bit, and
those jerseys.
Yeah, no kidding, right? And in fact, I think I read something about he's one of only a few players who have been on more than 4 teams in his Overwatch League career.
Yeah, along with Kariv, Hopper, and Fissure.
Yeah. So yeah, a transient young man. So I mean, like Molly's got talent. It's just the kind of cloud hanging over the Valiant is a little bit of just the crazy comp they had, where they had at one point the 5 DPS players, and which is just insane, especially for a team.
They still have 5. I'm looking at their roster now.
Yeah, for a team that doesn't win a lot, it doesn't have a very strong record, doesn't have a very strong performance the last couple of seasons. So it's like, where's the money coming from? And then to get again, I don't remember if we talked about this at all. The idea that specifically we heard it from Marvel. I don't know if it has applied to Molly. I'm going to assume no, unless I hear otherwise. But they have confirmed that Marvel, the new tank player, had I believe his 30-day, not a full contract, like his 30-day contract to kind of bring him in and try him out, paid for by talent out of pocket, which is that has upset a lot of people in the space.
Yeah, especially given that the Valiant don't exactly have the best street credit at the minute.
Yeah,
after what happened last year.
Absolutely. So it's like
they needed another tank player anyway, because
they do.
As good as he isn't really able to play the main tanks.
100%.
So someone to come in.
So which brings me back to I love your versatility, but 5 DPS players? Not maybe you didn't have to hire 5 DPS players. You could have used company and funds to bring on someone like a Marvel like that. I'm sorry, it is so mind-blowing. And again, this was all for a day or so. This was all speculation, but they have since confirmed on one of the management for the team was on stream and confirmed that yes, talent is pooling their money to pay for Marvel to come here. And to me, I don't know. This is the kind of stuff. If you want to be, again, this whole league and its model and the franchise model and everything from, pardon my French, but Bobby effing Kotick, who's a kind of a piece of human garbage, and was to kind of model the NBA, MLB, this sports franchise. We're city-based, we travel, away games, home games, all that nonsense, which on paper sounds cool as hell, is so unsustainable. But again, if your goal which we've been through that before, but if your goal is to be seen in this light, to be seen on that level of it's like we are a top tier 1 org, and this is the kind of thing happening. There should be absolute rules forbidding this. And the fact that there's not is mind-blowing.
Because we've seen teams actually improve over the years. I mean, Florida Mayhem, for example, they actually were sort of an up and down org.
No offense. We're not talking about that, though. We're not. I don't care about. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
we're talking about from just a business standpoint, allowing your players to literally to reach into their pockets, essentially, to go into their PayPal accounts and be like, all right, here's $1,000 from me. Sasson's got $500. Dia's got $750 he can give you to. It's mind blowing.
Yeah, because you see a lot of teams they've actually developed over the years and sort of improved their infrastructure. But with Valiant, you think to yourself, where's the money going? If not, it's infrastructure.
Where's any of it? Where's it coming from? Where's it going? The fact that I'm like, again, you're supposed to have set money and overhead for these kinds of things. And again, and then if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. You don't. If you are a team, the coach, and this is in no way suggesting, because I've heard some people suggest this is no way suggesting No Hill is like the one being like, come on, cough it up, kids. From what I've heard, that is absolutely not it. But for him to endorse it is kind of mind blowing. But as a team owner, I don't care who you are. If I heard even wind of it, I don't care if the team, and I'm saying this, it has someone who's been on management side of things and talent side of things, because I understand the impetus. The talent may have been the one kicking down coach's door, be like, hey, we really need another tank. We need that flexibility. We're all willing to chip in if we have to. I get that mentality. But if I get whiff of that as an org owner, somebody at the business, I go, I get it. I know you want that. That is
what you got, kind of thing.
Yeah, I am not allowing you to do that, because that is not, we are not setting that precedent.
Yeah.
That the idea of like, hey, when things are a little are out of pocket, we will just go into our talent's pocket. Because it means, even if this is all of the talent being like, we want to do it, it sets a precedent where it's like some team next year goes, well, we're a little light, but we need a DPS player. Well, last year Valiant did this. Maybe we could ask our guys if they're willing to. Now you got people pressuring a team who didn't volunteer it, maybe. You know what I mean? And then these are all young kids who want to be esports players for a living, which is such a rare thing. They're not going to say no. They're going to be like, okay.
It's a very dangerous sort of tightrope.
Yes, exactly. So, like I said, we will. It's a little unfortunate. We'll see what kind of difference Molly might make on the scene.
I mean, in a way, I do feel bad for Molly with on Guangzhou, because he's the more flexible player between him and Faraway. But they hard committed to Faraway. I could eat my words, but we'll see. Especially since we're in a Zenyatta based meta.
Sure.
And that is Faraway's best hero, is a Zenyatta. So
So we'll see that. We'll get into that a little bit with the preview, because we're gonna jump into APAC this coming week, get their first foray into the Midseason Madness. Couple more roster changes though. One that's a smaller one of note. We talked about Vulcan being released. This is not a replace for the tank player, but Ho1 was signed on and as a flex support. And from what we know, I believe, as you said, he is underage currently. Yes,
I believe so. I think it's like a month and a half before he's available.
Okay, I heard that too. Like the end of July, he will be able to be active. So coming in at flex support, and what we've heard is, yes, rumor, pinch of salt, all that stuff. This is less than just bringing on. It's more not Gangnam Jim, but it's Myungbong, who's been a little underperforming.
But it's a case of, surely you would sign a main support and move Gangnam Jin over to flex as well.
You would think
that's another way they could have done that.
Yeah, you would think so too.
Gangnam Jin, he can play the Lucio. He's a serviceable Lucio, but it's not what he's known for. I mean,
absolutely.
When he first debuted in the league, everyone was referring to him as the second coming of Jonak because of his Ana. And I think to myself, you've got him off rolling. move to something he's more comfortable doing, and maybe sign a main support.
And get a main support. Yeah, you would think so. And I mean, I don't know what main supports are available, either from contenders and stuff like that. It could be an issue with that. Or maybe they're just hard, really thinking like double flex is going to be maybe they're convinced double flex is going to be the way.
Yeah. I mean, it just doesn't feel right because, as I said, Gangnam Jin is serviceable on the Lucio. I mean, he has played it for Mayhem before.
Right.
As well. Because I think it was when they had Byram on the roster at the same time. They would combo him and Byram together at times.
Yeah.
So they need to flex over to a Lucio comp. Gangnam Jin would be the one to pick it up.
Yeah.
But
absolutely,
it's not his role. And you can see teams that have got main supports are actually doing pretty well. But they'll have a second flex support if needed.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there are exceptions to the rule. I mean, looking at, say, San Francisco Shock and the Houston Outlaws.
Yeah.
But obviously that doesn't work for everyone, does it?
No. And so here, calling back to my little bit of like our concern over some of these like short-term contracts, buyouts, like, God, you get released and you get a month and then you're out kind of thing. And we talked, hopefully it doesn't mean people are brought in literally for 1 month to fill a spot for one meta. And then it's like, okay, thanks. You were a great flex. Bye.
Yeah.
So, because like that right now, everyone at the beginning of the season thought maybe double flex would be it. It wasn't. A lot of Lucio and Ana. So then either people had to bring in their main support or they had to learn main support stuff. Now we kind of are in a double flex with Zen being very powerful. It is kind of a double flex is very, very viable. So now, like, I would just hate to see, like, of course it's going to be another month, but I would hate to see New York bring in this flex support just for a little bit to fill that gap to make their double flex work and then say bye-bye. Never mind.
Yeah.
We're back to a main support meta. Bye. Because you were on a 30-day contract. There's no evidence of that, but I hope that it doesn't become a trend.
Yeah,
of
I'm with you there.
Of like, hey, we're bringing you on and you're off. What like these mercenary owl players?
Yeah,
as you will.
Need a flex support? Sign me.
Yeah, everybody's just like rotating 30-day contracts all over the country, all over the world. But yeah, and then the last big move just got in the last couple of days was with a little bit of juice behind it. Eileen gets released from the
I've been hearing mixed things about this one.
Yeah, and so that's the biggest thing. So at the end of the day, again, we can all agree, like, sometimes people release, whatever, there's budget stuff, there's performance issues, all this stuff. The interesting thing about this one was the messaging behind it.
Yes, and how upfront they were about it as well.
Or not.
Like, it was involved.
To be fair.
Yeah, so
that's the issue. Yeah, exactly. So this is the confusing, the mixed messaging. One, you rarely see reasons given. Like look, if it's because 9 times out of 10, if it's performance or any of the usual things, budgets, performance, or just roster spots, etc., you just kind of get a general. We'd like to thank so and so for their hard work. We are releasing them from their contract. We wish them. It's the classic. We wish you the best in your future endeavors, right? Pretty banal. Pretty just borderline of just bland. Just we're releasing them. We thank them very much. Guangzhou, as you can kind of see in the upper right corner, went to the point of, and I don't know, maybe this is kind of a weird translation or something like that. They parted ways with Eileen. We have done so after careful consideration of relevant factors, including risks to our team from inappropriate personal conduct, as well as the future development of our team.
Yeah.
Which is it's not specific, but it's a very pointed thing to say. We are going out of our way to say that we felt our team was at risk, that this player committed some inappropriate conduct. And so, like, I wanted to look into it a little bit. What does Eileen say? What are there? I know, and Plex is not a fan of this, but like, I want to smoke out the rumor mill. I'm not going to believe any of it, but it's like, where is the smoke leading? Kind of just have a vague idea.
Like say, it's just one of those weird ones because Eileen's had his say as well. Don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, so Eileen, and I can actually bring that's on my next slide.
Yeah,
here.
I didn't know if you had Eileen that available.
Brought it up on his Weibo account. His direct thing was, and he literally had it like laid out like what happened. It wasn't just like, yeah, I got BS. He's like, I got sat down. So he said June 13th through 17th, they had scrims. Did a photo shoot for the team on June 17th. Usual kind of thing. They had a weekend break on the 18th, 19th. And then on June 20th, this week, he was brought in the afternoon, and the manager and the coach told him that his salary was too high and they're releasing him from his contract, and that he had to sign right then and there his termination paper.
Yeah.
So it's like, that sucks. But again, if that's the reason, it's weird because it's like, you signed him for this price. You knew you were going to have to pay him that price.
Yeah, I mean, so looking at it from both sides, on the one hand, you've got the org saying, "Oh, it's because of internal turmoil."
Right.
But on Eileen's side, he's saying it's because of his wages.
It's financial. It's business, right? It's kind of a thing. That's what he was told.
So I just think to myself, okay, who's telling the truth?
Right. So that's been the discussion.
Yeah,
that's been the discussion. It's just like this messaging on the release is strange. Normally you would think, okay, maybe Eileen would come out and be like, yeah, or like, I messed up, or like I did this, but it was unfair. It would at least it all be related. Like maybe he would allude to like, yeah, there was an incident, but this is unfair of them to do it for me. I didn't do that. I was misjudged or whatever. But no, he was just like, no, they said it was budget. And yet here it's very specifically like a personal thing. Now, I did also look into a little bit in a lot of these Chinese teams, when you see inappropriate conduct, it is often meant referring to something in their personal life. It's used several times for if somebody like cheats on their spouse.
Is what thing as well.
Yeah, is what I've heard from. Again, this is chatter around. It's one of those things like inappropriate conduct can mean a lot of those things sometimes. And again, different country, different culture, so they may take that more seriously on their roster than maybe someone from NA would. But it is. It's just this messaging here, and the fact that the tweet release was very focused on the inappropriate content, and the future of the future of the team was at risk because of this player, and yet he explains from his side that it was purely budgetary. So it's very strange. A lot of people, including myself, I've been saying this since they brought in Faraway and stuff like that. I'm like, I'm waiting for a Prita to get brought up because they brought a lot of people from that whole Chengdu mess. They brought a couple people because I believe is a Prita on Guangzhou's academy team right now.
Yeah, because I know quite a few of them moved to that roster.
Mm-hmm. And we all knew, we were all kind of, Chengdu fans were a little upset because Prita is a pretty damn good DPS player, and then him and Leave were potentially going to be a really good duo. And so that kind of, their whole kerfuffle threw everything into.
You stole from me there, Matt.
What's that?
You stole kerfuffle from me.
I do what I can. I like my words. But yeah, so like there's a lot of people who are like, all right, a Prita when. And if that's right, again, the budgetary thing is weird too. It's like, again, because you agreed to it. But if that's your reason for like, we're saving money to bring on a Prita, we're paying you too much. Bye. It's shitty, pardon my French, but it's business. So it's just that combination with the tweet is from Chengdu is very strange.
It just seems to me like one side saying one thing and the other saying another. I just think to myself, well, what's the actual situation?
Well, I mean, that's the thing is we probably will never know. It's just the bigger thing to me, because you'll always hear talent be like, this is what happened and everything. And of course, I'll take a talent at their word for sure. And corporate messaging, I will always read into a little bit. And again, it's just, unless there was something really horrible. And again, I haven't heard anything come out about Eileen yet about like, oh yeah, he did.
No, I haven't either.
He did this crap, or like, oh, he's been known to, he cheated in his games, or he's a drug dealer in his life, or some kind of thing. I don't know. They're sponsored by Herbalife though, so that whole thing's
that's a whole other debacle.
Yeah, so maybe the Herbalife pyramid captain gurus are influencing everything, but who knows? Anyway, but that's just some more of the craziness that has hit us. But for now, speaking of APAC,
yes,
it's time to look ahead to the week ahead at our schedule, because now this coming weekend, kicking off on Friday, APAC will join the ranks. And so what we're going to do here, excuse me, I will be picking us like an official match of the week, which we'll talk about in more detail. But we're just going to go through each match this coming up weekend and just give a quick, hey, who do we think has the edge? What we think the scoreline might look like. And we'll just kind of go bang, bang, bang through these as we go. So the APAC debuts kicking off Friday, 5 a.m., in the US over here at a reasonable time where Plex is in the UK.
11 a.m. GMT.
Lucky bastard. We had the Fusion and the Valiant. So considering everything we've heard about the Valiant, considering how the Fusion did in the kickoff clash, how do you see this one going down?
If Fusion turn up, I can see them getting an easy win, but Valiant getting a map. But obviously, Valiant have looked a lot better.
They just got their first win not too long ago.
Yeah. So on paper, I'm saying Fusion.
Okay.
But I would not be surprised if Valiant go and at least get one map.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think it's pretty clear cut Fusion. Even if they're not their absolute peak, they still did so well. In that kickoff clash tournament, and I think they'll hopefully. It's a question of whether they can adapt to the new meta. I think it's a pretty solid win, but I wouldn't even be surprised if this goes to a map 5 because Valiant.
Oh hell yeah!
They took Shanghai to map 5 at one point, didn't they?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, so they've been taking some of the better teams in APAC. Even if they don't win, they've been taken into map 5. So I wouldn't be surprised if this one went 3-2 as well. But I do think it's Fusion. Moving on, Chengdu and Seoul. I mean, this is Seoul has been so good, and they've proven their flexibility. So I think even moving into this next meta, that's a clear cut Seoul. I'm gonna say 3-1.
I'm gonna slightly disagree with you there because assuming Wrecking Ball is meta, that's one of the Chengdu Hunters' best heroes historically. So
and who? Why am I blanking on their tank?
Gaga.
Oh, Gaga's a good ball player too.
Yeah, so I can actually see Chengdu winning this one.
You think I can see them performing. You think they could actually take the win over Seoul?
I think they can because it all comes down to no, not Marvel. Oh, now it's my turn to blank. Smurf Dynasties, Smurf. Yeah, I've not really seen enough of Smurf's Wrecking Ball to get a better idea. So I've got more faith in the Chengdu Ball.
Do we think Ball is that meta where it's like that is a guaranteed play? Do you think? Do you think?
The assumption really that's because we saw in the last stage where the metas were very similar between APAC and NA.
Sure.
So based on that assumption, assuming Wrecking Ball is the predominant hero, I can see Chengdu getting it. I'm going to agree to disagree with you on that one, buddy.
Okay, cool. No, that's very fair.
It all comes down to whether or not Marvel can. I keep saying Marvel because he was on Seoul Dynasty. That's what it is.
Yes.
It all comes down to whether or not Smurf can play the ball to the same level as Gaga.
Or does he play the ball? Can he? Would
he play the Sigma instead? Yeah.
Maybe play the Sigma. Yep. Maybe. I don't know. I probably
wouldn't. Down to the tank line.
Yeah.
Tank player.
Yeah. Because Chengdu still has Leave, and Leave was one of the few people to bust out Sojourn. Early on before she was even buffed up a little bit. So
because then you can have Leave on Sojourn and then have Jinmu on Echo, which is it was either Echo Tracer was the flanker that went with the Wrecking Ball.
So that their DPS line can be nasty too. And again, we know Fits and Profit can be, but man, especially again like Sojourn. Leave was already showing some promise on that early on. I thought this was I thought they were going again the next day, and I was like, oh wait, never mind. Nope, it's just the encore. So only 2 matches from APAC on Friday. So then we move London, New York, London on a roll. New York, no. I think
that's going to Spitfire. That one is likely going to Spitfire.
Yeah, I think it's without a doubt. I think that's
they're more versatile. They look more comfortable on what they're playing.
I wouldn't be surprised. I would not even be shocked with a 3-0 in that one.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said how at times I've seen players play uncomfortable.
Yep.
And I'm seeing that with New York.
Yeah, everything seems to be uncomfortable.
It's
like they're wearing an itchy sweater everywhere they go, and just cannot take it off. So,
yeah.
Sorry, Richard. Again, I think
not sorry.
London's calling one more time. Then after that, Florida. Here you go. Here's your boys, the Florida Mayhem.
Yeah, this is the Dallas Fuel.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So Dallas had a rough weekend to start this this tournament off. Florida had a pretty good weekend.
Yeah, 1-1.
So pretty solid. So with being as unbiased as you can, how do you see it going down?
I can see it going to map 5. I can only say that. I don't know where. I honestly, it's a coin flip for me.
Yeah,
because you've got Mayhem, who've clearly got their defined style, and they looked a lot better against Toronto, but against Dallas, they've got the quality, but not the results.
Yeah.
So it's going to a map 5 for me, but I couldn't tell you who's going to get the win.
Yeah,
it's one of those close affairs for different reasons.
I think this could be. I'm gonna still say Dallas. I think they have the experience to pull it out, but this could be. This is a very we are like a tilt. This is an upset scenario, kind of waiting to happen. I think.
Yeah, so it all comes down really to what can Dallas bring to the table.
So that was the other thing is again we talk about Wrecking Ball and someone looking pretty solid on Wrecking Ball. Last year, Fearless got we haven't seen a ton of him, but he got there.
Like I say, a lot of the time last year, Fearless was avoiding playing Wrecking Ball.
Yes, for a long time.
But now it's a case of if Wrecking Ball's the better, it looks like Hunbin is going to be that player.
That was going to be my next question. I'm like, towards the end of the season, it was a little too late, but Fearless was picking up the ball a little bit, got better. But Hanbin's been the star, the kind of primary starting tank player on the Dallas field this year, given the one tank setup.
Yeah.
So yeah, would it be a Hanbin ball potentially, or again, does he try to play the Sigma against the ball too?
But for all we know, Dallas could come in with a completely different composition altogether.
Yeah, Rush
it's
might
like
be
the false 9 composition.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I've got faith in Coach Rush that he can find something that works for his team.
But this will be like a good test because, like, again, there's a lot of people who'd be like, "Oh, Fuel, right?" Because Mayhem's kind of stuck in the middle. Fuel's still one of the top teams, but I'm like, I don't know. They're struggling a little bit. Like I said, this could be I very much could believe in upset. I'm gonna still say Fuel 3-2 kind of thing, but I think
I'm not going to commit on this one. It's going to be one of those rare cases where I'm not going to commit because it's so close.
Sure, I think that there's very much upset potential. Unlike our next match, where man, Atlanta's Atlanta's just been looking so good, man. That's clear cut Atlanta.
Yeah, so I'm with you there. I mean, Vancouver, they'll look competitive under DP, but aside from that, I don't really give much chance.
Yeah, no, not quite yet. Maybe some more changes still to come. Charge versus Spark. This one's tougher than it should be. Normally I would, before the kickoff clash, I would have been like, dude, Spark 3-0, 3-1, something. But Spark was a little underwhelming in the clash, and I'll be curious to see how they kind of adapt to things.
I still think Spark have the quality to get over the line in this one.
I do too.
I've said before how with Guangzhou they need a better tank player. I'll say that much. Because I've not been impressed with Rio when he's been playing. He's sort of gone really downhill over the years. Krong is good, but you can tell there's better players in his position.
100%.
And then you look at Hangzhou, you've got an experienced tank line, a scary rookie damage lineup, and I think they've got the quality to get this.
Yeah, I do not disagree. I think it's Hangzhou, and maybe close, but I think it's Hangzhou.
Yeah.
Shanghai Seoul. That will be actually.
Again, it comes down to Smurf on the Wrecking Ball. I think so.
But Fate, who's on the other side? I was going to say, who's on the other side of that?
It's Fate. Assuming a Wrecking Ball, it will be him. And he is dang good at
He
Wrecking Ball.
Defined the Wrecking Ball meta last year. Like, it was like, wow, hey, want to know what to do? Yeah. Want to know what to do? Go watch the Dragons when they were playing ball last year.
And then on top of that, you've got Void on the bench, who is one of the best Sigmas in the league. So they can easily flex over.
Ooh, this is going to be a good one.
This screams Shanghai, provided that That's Smurf doesn't pick up the ball that well.
I'm gonna pick this as I didn't make a proper graphic for it, but this is gonna be our match of the week for me.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
This is very interesting because again, Soul looks so good in the kickoff clash, but with this change in meta and tank meta especially, it gives Shanghai and Fate especially
it leans into the strength of the dragons more than Soul Dynasty.
Very, very much. So I'm gonna pick Shanghai in this one. I'm gonna pick this for them for a little bit of a punchback.
I'm with you there.
Clash.
We will collect Richard's moments as when we can get it.
Yeah, when we can. We will revisit it next week. But
that's gonna Richard.
That's good. You're fired, Richard. Get it. That'll be a good match though. Moving Philly and Chengdu. Again, similar kind of thing. Like Philly, if they show up, but no, you really changed my mind. Again, I was kind of imagining a continuing middling Chengdu, but you're right. Like Gaga and Wrecking Ball and stuff like that could be pretty important.
I mean, I haven't seen Bellisria on the ball that much, so I honestly couldn't tell you. I mean, for all we know, it could be Fury that picks it up.
Yeah. I'm gonna give it to Chengdu. I think they're gonna bust out a win here.
Yeah. Looks like I'm leaning that way, but it will be a map 5.
Yeah, I think it'll be close.
It will be a map 5, one way or the other.
Okay. Then we have our encore. Then we go over to NA for Saturday. Justice and Defiant. Two teams.
That's a tough one.
Two teams that have kind of had this up and down. Who's going to show up again? Talent on the paper, right?
Yeah.
Washington Justice, and I was talking to one of our friends in our Discord, and he often joins us for the podcast. Who's a huge Justice supporter, and they were very upset. The coaching decisions and stuff seem like we talk about this all the time. Like, unless you really need to, or there's a very specific hero or meta you need, why would you not? Always play
don't fix it kind of thing.
Happy and Decay. Keep that as your duo. And unless you need a very specific flex in there, don't take them up. But they continue to take out Happy, especially.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
is Assassin a better Tracer than Happy?
No.
Both players can play the Tracer, as can Decay. So
they can't. Sure, all these players, again, every player in this league is at a very high level, could probably play every hero to a higher level than 99% of us. But we're talking about those 0.5% differences that make you elite at these certain heroes and everything. And no, Happy, I think Happy is better unless you need something specific that Happy just doesn't feel quite as strong at. They make some weird coaching decisions. And it's like when they stick on course, Washington can freaking go. But Toronto, I would say the same thing normally, but they've been middling too. Man, this one is so hard to call.
Yeah, I honestly don't know which way to go. Because let's assume that Toronto come back with something that works. It could go their way.
Yeah.
But because Justice, for me, are too reliant on their damage lineup. It's a case of, you look at the two rosters side by side. Let's say Toronto, Finale is not having a good game. The rest of the team can pick up the slack and help out. With Justice, if their damage lineup isn't working to their full potential,
it's fair enough.
Who can you see picking up the slack?
Yeah.
That's my big question mark. So it's going to be a hard one, I'll agree, but I could slightly see Toronto edging it.
I was just going to say, too, I think Toronto can edge it out.
Purely because of that logic of one player isn't performing, the rest can pick up the slack. Justice, if the damage line isn't playing, they all essentially... I mean, the best way to put it is... it's like when Mayhem played Justice, Checkmate was man-marking Decay, basically out of the game. And they took Decay out of the equation to the point where Justice just looks so bad without him.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong.
Toronto doing a similar thing.
You're not wrong. Another one hard to call. That will be Atlanta and Shock. That is Atlanta. Both teams looked solid this past weekend, even moving into the new meta. Potentially, depending on how this stage goes, could be our two top teams. Along with I could see Dallas being kind of punched down to like the 4th position, and Atlanta moving up if they can continue the kind of momentum they've had.
Yeah.
For
I'll
me,
go first with this one.
Okay, please.
I'm leaning towards the shock of this one because they've shown more flexibility than Atlanta. Because it's clear that Atlanta seem to be leaning more towards the Doomfist comps still, whereas Shock have shown they can play the meta as well as some off-meta stuff. So it's a case of historically Atlanta have avoided running certain compositions, and it's clear you can plain as day a lot of the time when they're on a meta they're not comfortable with.
Yeah,
they'll avoid it like the plague.
Yep.
With Shock, they tend to lean into it and just dominate on it. Once they learn a meta, you watch out.
Yeah.
So I can see Shock taking this one.
Yeah, I'm going to tend to agree with you. I mean, I like thinking about tanks. I mean, Hawk and Gator are both incredible. And Hawk has a pretty good Sigma, I think. But
yeah,
I don't know if again, and I don't know why I keep going back to it because I don't think it is not the end all be all meta. But like, if needed, I don't feel like either one of them plays ball.
No, I'm trying to remember a time when one of them did.
I mean, last year they were in the finals playing against Shanghai when ball was still kind of meta, but they didn't. They kind of just forced rush.
They forced rush,
and it didn't really work, and they got kind of whooped up on by Shanghai.
Yeah, it's the flexibility is the factor.
Yeah. I think you're right.
As much as they sort of rib on the Shock for all kinds of reasons, but they've got the quality.
Yeah,
and they've shown that they can play the meta.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, I'm going to go with that one too. I think that goes Shock.
And Violet is scary on the Baptiste.
Yes,
that I think we can agree on.
Yes, 100%.
Do we really need to go over this one?
No, sorry. Even in an off fuel day, they're gonna
cue the coffin dancer meme here.
Bye.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, moving on. It's Dallas. Guangzhou and Valiant.
Okay.
See Valiant.
I'm going to stick my neck out of this one.
Yep.
I'm going to say Valiant win this.
I'm on the same page.
Charge, they've kind of stood still in their development, whereas Valiant, over time, they've gotten better and better and better. And with that win under their belts, for the last stage, I mean, when they last played Guangzhou was struggling, and I think that Valiant now in this meta, he could potentially get the win.
Who did they get their first win over the other week?
Oh, it was by the tail. It was.
Was it Guangzhou?
No, they already played Guangzhou at that point. No, it was Chengdu, I think.
It's Hunters, okay.
So yeah, but anyway, I definitely think Valiant could win this.
Yeah,
as a strong possibility.
I think so too. And like the one thing that could, I was just thinking, I'm like, which could like, especially with the turmoil in the team, which like again, I don't like to weigh that a ton, but sometimes it affects morale and it affects.
Yeah, no, I've seen that myself.
Yeah. So and who knows? They also maybe they'll bust out Marvel, and who could give them some extra tank flexibility. But the one thing that could rock the vote, if we do end up seeing today or tomorrow or something, Aprita assigned to the starting lineup of the Charge could be. I don't think it's a game changer, but I think it could be a difference maker. I still say LA can squeak this one out. I think they can.
Yeah.
Shanghai, Hangzhou.
Another tricky one's cool because Hangzhou have got the rookie talent to really give an enemy team a fight, but I can still see Shanghai edging it.
I think this is gonna be a Shanghai meta. I think this stage they're gonna
Fate on Wrecking Ball, Void on Sigma.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be. Yeah, I think it's gonna actually be a pretty strong, unless Hangzhou have picked up some strats like quick. I think this is gonna be a pretty strong win actually for Shanghai. I think Hangzhou can punch back, but it's gonna be a strong one out of the gate. And then our last couple of NA matches, we have the Shock versus the Mayhem.
This is the match I was looking forward to.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. I hope it's another one kind of like I'm gonna go with Shock for the dub in the end. I hope this is a 5-mapper though.
Yeah, well, this is I'm going to explain why I've been looking forward to this one. Both starting lineups typically run 4 rookies plus a veteran. So both teams have a similar build-up. That's a case of whose build-up. It's going to come down to the rookie talent.
Yeah.
In my opinion. I mean, on paper you give it to Shock, but there's upset potential from the Mayhem, in my opinion, because it's clear that Gunbar's got them playing a very specific way of Overwatch, and they are good at it. And also, there's a lot of tape on how Krusty plays his Overwatch. It's always that ultimate economy. Dominate that and dump it. Whereas with Mayhem, under Gunbar, there isn't as much tape to review and things like that. And obviously, Gunbar, what I've seen of his teams, he knows how to prepare them. It doesn't matter whether you're the top team or the bottom team. His teams are prepared.
Yeah.
So on paper, it's Shock with upset potential from the Mayhem. It's all going to come down to the rookie talent, in my opinion.
Fair enough. Moving into something that's in my drama club Discord is a big. We have a lot of LA Gladiators fans, and of course, I am.
Support a good team. Support Florida Mayhem.
And I am currently a streamer for Houston Outlaws. So there's some personal feelings on the line here. Outlaws and Glads, and I love the Cowboys, of course, and I want to rep the team strong, and I believe there's potential here, but man, Glads are scary.
I was gonna say, yeah.
This one is there. Like, I know Shock is number one in the standings but Glads are number one in pretty much every metric. Otherwise,
the thing with Glads is that they can play almost any composition without substitutions.
Yeah, that's the thing.
The only time they need to make a substitution is for a double sniper, and that's when they bring Arns in.
And I love that's what we talked about this since the beginning of the season. It's had some shining bright spots. Don Tank, and they've been relying on it less, which is good. They've had Piggy in more, which is good.
Tracer on occasion as well.
Yes, I know. It's like, oh god, he's back to DPS and doing kind of what he does. But the trouble is, even if you feel like there's a Doomfist map and you put in Dante, like you said, you're locked. You are locked into Doomfist for that map. He's not going to try Sigma. He's not going to be like trying Reinhardt or something like that on a league game. He's playing Doomfist into the ground. And if LA can counter that, which they can, it's gonna be, you're gonna have a bad time.
I'm sure Gladiators have got something in their back pocket.
They've got several things, and so, but that said, Piggy has been used a lot more and shown a lot of flexibility, more than I even thought he had. So, I think this could be a good one. I think Glads take it. I'm hoping for map 5.
Yeah, so I'm going to say Glads either way. So
yeah,
this is not like dislike the Outlaws. It's more like it's all down to the flexibility of the Gladiators starting lineup compared to the Outlaws.
100%. Eternal, and finishing off with Eternal and Uprising. I mean, man, I liked what I've seen from Eternal with the new additions. I think Eternal can take it. I think they can add another win here. Boston has not shown me anything.
There's not enough on the table, no.
Yeah, hasn't shown me any like spark. Like, ooh, like man, like these guys popped off. Like if they could just get that together with XYZ, maybe they can make it work. I've not seen that yet from them. There's been no like that bubbling of like, ooh, if this clicks in, it's all just been kind of.
It just seems like I don't know. It's that sort of it factor, that spark to give people something to cheer for. It's like Boston is sort of functioning a lot of the time. Whereas look at Paris, I mean, Dove and Wub together have looked really good over the last week.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Vastola and Darn have been looking good. And then Dredro and Khan have looked really good as well.
Yeah, like you said, like the new additions, Dove, they've had those moments of like, ooh, oh, okay. Like if this can all come together, like we could go on a little bit of a run. Again, I know this is very intangible and very not like stats based, but you know what it is, where it's like that. Okay,
it's that it factor,
that it factor
like,
where things can start rolling.
Grab the game by the scruff of the neck.
Yeah, and now they are starting to have more. Paris is starting to have more of that potential, more so than Boston. I think Paris takes this one.
Boston look stable with Punk in the lineup. I'll say that much. But it's a case of in this kind of meta, I've got to give it to Paris.
Yeah, I like Boston. I think they'll keep punching down. Like
they'll make it interesting.
They'll make it interesting, and I think they'll continue to like punch down Vancouver. And and stuff like that. But like now Paris is I think on an upswing, and I think it's I think Boston's going to move into that second to last spot above Vancouver and NA. I think they really will. Which, whoo! But anyway, so catch all of those games, everybody. I can catch them on the YouTube and everything like that. We might. I might do a live stream watch along, not an official co-stream. We're not doing that this weekend, but maybe the Outlaws Gladiators game. We might do an official watch along again because, like I said, several members of our community on the Drama King Matt channel are big fans of that. So if you want to join us, we might hang out on Sunday afternoon and just check it out, and we'll chat and we'll watch the games along. So, but for today, and Richard, who conveniently, we didn't talk about this enough. Even if we talked about it, we didn't talk about it enough. Conveniently has missed his punishment because Plex and Richard bet.
I'm disappointed because I wrote a good one.
He wrote, that is our standard deal now. If you lose, our Crosstown Classics, if you lose to one of the other members' teams, you have to buy a skin from that team. You have to cut a promo praising the opposite team. And we're going to make you change your name on the next week's podcast to praise the next team.
Yeah.
So,
Richard, you better be recording it right now.
Yeah. He said he's going to record it. We'll share it on social media. So, follow Plexomatic, follow the Drama King Matt, follow Great Root Bear. Those will be in the description of our show down below if you're hearing this on audio or watching it on video. And make sure you check that out. But for now, we will send you off. Make sure you watch those matches. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, do all of those things. It really helps us out. If you're on the YouTube, leave a comment, leave a like. It helps the algorithm. If you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, leave a comment. More comments, the more traction we get. So we very, very much appreciate it. You can go ahead and find those on my social media, all of our social medias, etc. So until next time, everybody, I am the Drama King for Plexomatic and the absent bear, the great absent bear. We hope you have a wonderful week, and we will see you next time.
Bye-bye.